have to whiz through this because it is about 2 weeks, 10 days before Christmas, and I've got no gifts for a certain amount of people. I've got loads of scrap wood and no gifts. So, what do? I've just gone on Amazon and I've picked up some cheap kits that I'm then going to add wood to, and I'm going to make some awesome gifts for people. One of these is going to be a gift for my wife, and I have no way of stopping her watching. But if you're watching, close your eyes. Right, let's go. These are just cheap bottle opening accessories, and what they're missing is the handle, and what we're good at is making things like handles, so it's perfect. I've got a couple of offcuts that I've already laminated a dark and a light wood together, and I have to say that always looks pretty effective if you've got two different woods. I wouldn't use a soft wood with this because what we're going to do is we're just going to drill a hole to put the threaded rod in. Where it gets good is what you decide you want to do to this. Make it however you like, but don't use softwood because it will just ping out the sides. Keep your grain going straight and that will give it strength. Anything after that is totally up to you. I'm going to drill the hole because that's the thing that I am least confident with. Fit test number 1. Ooh, okay. Imagine this is the bottle. Let's try it. That's fine. Experiment is a success. Let's make something a bit prettier than this. If you're going to sand it with the head on, which is sensible if you're going to try and taper up to the head, put some blue tape around it. Now, as a confession, don't sand straight through the blue tape. You will take the finish off. These are only cheap. But for an experiment on the first one, I really like that. So what I'm thinking with this one is that the two tones nice, but wouldn't it look better if there was more tones? Thin, too thick. Oh, that's it. Perfect. Plenty of glue. Tap, tap. And then after that, we're going to sink the dowels in, same way, and then slice it all off. See what we've got. Right, so once you've got that all glued up, and the next morning you just need to cut it flush and give it a sand. And what you end up with is pretty awesome. What I've also put on every single one of these is a nice coat of Danish oil. So they'll be nice and tactile, but won't be shiny like if you've put varnish on them. I think they've come out really nicely. So much so that I've made a few more. Each one's got a different feel to it. I've made one that's really tactile and fits in your hand really nicely. I've made one that's got some really thin inlay in it that was just done by cutting one kerf with a saw and then pushing in some shavings that I took really coarsely on my plane. And then there's the original, which is just two-tone, nice short handle, really compact. And finally, there's the hockey stick, which probably won't be given as a gift on account of the fact that it keeps making people grin, and I have no idea why. Still, I like it. It's very ergonomic. That's it. Are these perfect? No, not by a long shot. Are they fun? Absolutely, and they are great to experiment with. Good to gift as well. Cheap, easy, quick. What more could you want? But for the next one, we're going to clear through all of our scrap plywood. All it takes is a little bit of time and some cutting, and you strip it down and you can make some really awesome patterns from the end grain. I don't have a table saw, I've just got the circular saw, and I've done this lots of times before. It's really simple. Don't let the big tools or lack of big tools put you off. Whatever width you cut these strips is going to be the height of the board that you have to work with later on. So give yourself a bit of depth and give yourself a little bit of leeway. I've used 3/4 inch plywood here because the thicker it is, the less you've got to cut. And so less pieces is less cutting, is less effort, is happy mark. I've just broken down all the edges. I've also stored 2 handy little tubs of the sawdust. That'll just save you a little bit of money later on. Stick with us for that. And here we are now ready for the glue up. Now, because we're going to be cutting these at a 45-degree angle in order to get that chevron, if you want to get the most out of this, when you glue them up, if it's all one length, just change the one end so that you can line up all the ends into a very rough 45. You will get a load more wood from your cuts. Sash clamps. The small workshop's nightmare. That's going to be great. It's going to be absolutely fine. What could go wrong? All right. Ow! Oh, I just made it too long to get past. Let's glue it. If you can't open your glue bottle, let's improvise. Bingo. Pot and a brush. The glue time going off is quite short. Plan for that. Have a better way of applying it than I just had there. And hammer. Eek. Keep going. Now, at this stage now, if you see any gaps, take some of that sawdust, mix it with glue, and then smear it in. Okay, so this has had about 2.5 hours worth of clamping. As far as sanding goes, ignore that for now. Clamps off. I have to say, as an aside, these two clamps are amazing, just for pressure and ease of use. Links in description, the two that I use. This direction, what we need to do is make that cool chevron pattern, and the way we do that is by cutting it at 45 degrees. The way I do this, because I've got the circular saw, is by using this, the speed square. You see, you can put it against one edge and then it will show you the 45 degrees and you can cut accordingly. Now, for this one, obviously I'm going to take it here, on there, and I'm then going to run the circular saw down it. And what we want to do here is, again, make sure that we're doing it at regimented intervals. If you're not confident with the speed square on its own, you can use the speed square to adjust where you hold a longer, stronger piece of metal, something like this, and then you've got a bigger surface to run the circular saw against. With is loads and loads and loads of strips. Some of them broke, I've taken them back together. I know roughly the size that I want these to be. Turn every other strip round, and that's how you get the really cool chevron pattern. I'll show you. Same as before, a couple of sash clamps, put the glue in between, clamp them tight as you can, and then leave them for a few hours just to dry. I'm going to probably leave these overnight. I'll come back with the belt sander and I'm just going to take them completely down to a lovely level surface. If you've got a drum sander, your next bit is super easy. You're just going to pass this through a lot. I only have a belt sander, or I've got the spinning disc on my drill. I've done it all with the spinning disc before and it takes forever. Make this big piece, I've earmarked a picture frame. So what I need to now do is just cut the strips out that are going to make the frame. And then we need to mitre the edges, glue it together, stick a rebate on it. Okay, so we've still got a few things we need to do, but it's super simple and you don't need all the big tools to do it, I promise. I think the first thing we're going to do is just cut this down into strips, because then we can manage the size of them. And let's put a rebate on. You've seen me use this before. All it is a guide jig for my circular saw. It means that I can run it in straight lines and I can cut rebates on it just by raising the blade level up and then running it through a couple of times. They're a little bit rough, but you've got your rebate in there and you've got enough thickness to make the frame out of. What I want to do is start measuring the backboard for my pieces, then I can mitre them. And now we just do the same for the other side. As you can see, I just used my speed square on the shooting board just to make sure I got a really good 45. And then when you put the pieces together with a bit of tape on the back, you can see on the front if they're going to match line for line. Always do a dry fit first, and then don't move the clamp very far, because if you get it all out and messy again, it's going to be an absolute pain in the bum. Just pull these very slightly, and that's all we're going to do. We're now going to apply glue, pop it back into the same place that the clamps were, and then tighten it down. Check for diagonal, and then from there we just leave it. Fingers crossed. I've cut this. This I'm going to mount on the back. But the whole reason for this is just because I worry that the bend, if it bends at any stage, it might break. I took a little bit extra time just to round off the edges of the backing piece and off the actual frame. Take your time. It frayed when we were doing the shooting board. It will chip off if you're not careful, but if you get a nice smooth edge on it, it'll look pretty special. Next up, I'm using wood glue. Just going to glue the backing piece on. And that is just waiting for the final finish, a nice sand, and I'll show you what we've got at the end. Okay, so what we've made out of the remaining board are some 8x8 centimetre squares and 2 bad boy 10x10s. Clean these up however you want. If you want it to be a rough present, just wrap them in Hessian, throw them at your friends. Me, I'm just going to smarten these up and give them a really good sand, and you get a really hard finish. So these came out brilliantly. I'm really happy with the pattern. It's really effective, and they are a nice solid tactile chunk of wood. I want to show you a little difference in how I've finished these. This one has been Danish oiled and this one has been varnished. These are for drinks, so I would go for the better protection here. I'll just put a water-based varnish on purely because it dries quickly and I can recoat it over and over. I've gone a step further, and this was messy. I have to say, if you've got a drill press, it's a lot easier. I've done it a couple of mils so I can then put a cool bottle opener in there. And I think that looks awesome. You'll also have noticed I've put a little bit of sticky back felt on the bottom of these so that when they're on the table, they don't scratch it. That's it. Cool coasters. I am so happy with how this has come out. I've just put a coat of the water-based varnish on. I popped the backer in, and luckily I had a staple gun that puts in these little tabs that bend so you can take this in and out. You could do it with tacks, you could do it anyhow you like on this. You could even stick a piece of paper over the back like they used to do. I've also put a couple of hooks and some wire on the back. That's it. I'm hoping that the dark stain will mean that it sits proud of the wall and leaves a nice shadow behind it. I've got a feeling this will probably be the last video that I do before Christmas, and then January comes and we're going to bring out some more stuff that's not necessarily holiday or gift themed, which will be a nice change. I just want to say at this stage, it's been half a year since I started the channel and I am blown away by the support from everybody that's watched. I know most people will have switched off by now, apart from maybe the die-hard few that will watch every video to the end. Those of you now, I'm speaking directly to you, and I want to say thank you. Everything you've done to help me this year, from commenting, liking, subscribing, offering me words of advice, those of you that email me, send me projects that you've done, converse with me and make this feel like a real community, I want to say thank you so much. This is the time of year to be grateful, and I want you to know from the bottom of my heart that I am for everything that you guys give me. I hope you've enjoyed the year, I hope you've enjoyed the videos, and whatever you're doing over this festive period, I really hope that you have a lovely time and you can get out and start making something, or just spend the time with people that you care about. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, and have a lovely Christmas. I'll see you in the new year.